Don't go hot yet. I don't like to go no guard at all, though. I like, you know, you went no guard at all, huh?
I gotta go full child at the bottom.
You want it to look bigger.
Yeah, of course. Anything I can gain is going to be helpful, man.
Yeah, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back from the All-Star break. We're refreshed. A little respite there, coming back, feeling good, following a pretty nice little break there. Basketball is back. Still some injuries, though, that we're going to get into for today's slate. It's not like everyone's off the injury report. Matter of fact, some guys that were just recently on the injury report or just landed on it over the All-Star break are going to be out for today. So some value should pop up. But welcome to the Stokastic.com NBA strategy show. Josh and I were just talking about Manscaped because they sent us a bunch of stuff. And, you know, I've always been skeptical. Man, that is some good stuff right there. I just got to be careful because I took it down further than I normally would, thinking that it was the same guard length. But man, that stuff works like a beauty.
It was great. Every single thing that they've given me so far has been exceptional. We would dance around it if it wasn't. We don't have to dance around it. I've loved every single thing I've used. All the good ball creams have been fantastic. It's full on, no doubt about it. I'm in for, like, I'm going to reorder the products when I have to. Yeah.
I'm gonna have to use the nose hair one though. I tell you, I know I started getting old when I started having like hairs grow right, like not coming out old man style, but like right on the edge of the ear.
Every once in a while I get one like in the, like the clean part of the ear, just straight out. As like, what? How did that get there?
I used to have, I had my ears pierced, you know, when I was younger. And
that's cute.
Like, you know, the holes on the lobes don't really close up. And I had one growing kind of out of the hole, the ear pierced hole in the lobe. And you just look at yourself and you go, it's not going to get any better from here, is it?
Did you get that done at Piercing Pagoda at the mall?
No, man. We drank a bunch of Southern Comfort and did it in a bathroom.
Oh, no, dude.
I did my cartilage like that too. Not proud of it. Dude. You know, a guy walking around with his cartilage. But you know, you were.
What, like up top?
Yeah.
I did that. I got that done in Hawaii after I graduated high school.
Yeah. Back in the day, you know, like skateboarder, snowboarder, that kind of stuff was cool. Believe it or not, chicks kind of digged it. Now, if I did it now, it would be, I'm pretty sure my wife would look at me like, you are a clown.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, without question, I would never do it again. It only lasted like 2 weeks. It fell out while I was sleeping once. And by the time that I woke up and noticed, to push it back through, it had already just barely started to connect. And I was like, I'm not doing that.
Yeah.
I don't like it nearly enough to like go through this shit again.
Don, Adam will be here tomorrow. He's got himself a little fever running today.
Yeah.
It's at like 103 or something. I don't know. He went down to Atlanta. Bad strip club.
Savannah.
That's my guess. Or not Atlanta. He was in Georgia, somewhere. Savannah. Yeah, Savannah.
Yeah, he you know, picked up some sort of brand new venereal disease.
Yeah, he Andre Drummond himself is what he did.
Yeah, I don't know where that avocado went, but
happy to have you guys with us. Glad to be back. Hit that thumbs up if you haven't done so yet. Helps us immensely here. I know a lot of you guys already have. Like 45 out of 250 is not a bad ratio, and I can appreciate that. Subscribe to the channel too if you haven't done so. We're almost at 90,000 subs.
It's crazy to think about how much this has grown. 100K, we're going to have a bit of a soiree on stream.
Ever since I came along in 2018, the trajectory just.
Yeah, you guys got here like 6 months after it started.
I know. And hey, leave a comment too down below. We try and at the very least read all of them, respond to them. If you're listening in podcast form, leave a rating or review, subscribe to the pod, all that good stuff. And today's show sponsored by Prize Picks. Tell you how to get a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, literally everything on our site, and $100 match deposit bonus later on in the show. So first up, you ready? Well, actually, any big news, anything I don't think there's a whole lot of stuff that we're waiting on today, especially coming off a week-long hiatus.
No, it was a pretty clean morning for me on the process. Like I was able to get through everything, not a lot hanging in the balance. One or two weird like starter questions with guys coming back, but even that is probably not going to be all that important. It's a fun slate.
I guess if there's one spot that we'd have to, at least be questioning right now, not sure how much it's going to influence, but we'll dive straight into it with Denver and Cleveland. Denver getting 2.5 points on the road, 223 total. Not exactly the best matchup you're going to find either. But Aaron Gordon is out still. And then Jamal Murray, who said that he would be returning following the All-Star break, is still questionable. I'm not convinced that he's going to be playing today.
No, I don't think he's going to be playing today either. The good news is this game is awful just on both. Well, for the most part, awful on both sides. Great defense out of Cleveland. Neither team is particularly fast. Cleveland's dead last in my pace metric. Denver's not too far behind. They are still below average in pace. So I have everybody set up on Denver as if we're not going to get Aaron Gordon and we're not going to have Zeke Najee. Neither of those things are really going to matter. Like, it doesn't unlock Bruce Brown at 5K. Do you want to play him at shooting guard, small forward, 5K? Yeah, sure. Totally reasonable to get there. But we've got 11-8 Jokic, who I just don't see any scenario where you can project him to look better than Joel Embiid today. Jamal Murray's already at 8,700. Like, there's no meat left on the bone for Denver. I ran my dummy crunch earlier. I got 2 lineups with MPJ and nothing else.
So it makes it easy to talk about Cleveland on the other side of this one, because I mean, you look at the Cleveland Cavaliers, and if you want to talk about teams that right now are just completely healthy, this is one of them. The Cavs, I mean, Ricky Rubio is out, and they just traded Kevin Love to the Heat. Or what did they release him and then he went?
They bought him out.
They bought him out. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It happened over the break. I was half paying attention to that. But he wasn't playing big minutes. Rubio had been playing anywhere between like 15 and 19 minutes per game. Not terrible on a per minute basis, but no. Does that affect really anything, particularly the big names here? It really can't, right?
No, I mean, Garland, Mitchell, Mobley, Allen, you project them the same way today that you normally do. And like Jared Allen at 6,600, I think is a really nice value. It's hard to get to Mobley at $1,400 more, but I don't mind getting to Jared Allen. He's someone I get to pretty regularly and certainly fits this matchup. If you want to go to Isaac Okoro today, I think that's kind of reasonable. There's not a ton of value out there just yet at the bottom. He's shooting guard, small forward, so you get him at guard, forward, and utility. Only 3,300. This is the 5th guy in the starting lineup. Only played 18 minutes this past Wednesday, but could get upwards of like 28 in a perfect scenario. Just added flexibility. Not a guy that you're going to ever be happy about rostering, but for the rest of this team, I got very little Garland. I didn't get any Mitchell. I don't have any Mobley. You're not going to the bench and trying to get whoever, Chetty, Wade, Lamar Stevens, Danny Green, whoever you want to just pick for the rest of these guys. Like, none of that is relevant on a 9-game slate. So I think the focus needs to be Jared Allen. Now, if you want to get Garland or Mobley or Mitchell, like those guys are always, it's always okay to roster the stars on any team as like a pivot away from ownership. But I think Jared Allen is the only guy that I would try to get to today.
You look at Detroit and Orlando up next. Detroit 7-point dogs, 227 total. Our ownership, which just recently updated, if you're a sub over at Stokastic, has a decent amount on a 9-game slate going to guys like Killian Hayes. He's at 31% right now. Isaiah Stewart, $5,000. He does have that power forward eligibility on DraftKings, which is helpful. He's 22%. Even guys like Ivy and Bojan Bogdanovic are getting a little bit of love today going up against this Orlando team. Are you in line with that right now with your initial runs of lineups?
I am. Hayes looks really good. 4,700, has moved back into the starting lineup. Sadiq Bey is not there. They don't seem to want to be going to Alec Burks any longer. I don't know why you don't trade Burks if you only want to put him on the back burner, but that's neither here nor there. 31% feels a little high. Like, I think it's going to be pretty easy to find a different version of Killian Hayes if you need to. But on a point per dollar basis, to me, he is the best guy from the Pistons. The guy that I got the most, however, is Bojan Bogdanovic at 6,300 because he's the best player on the Pistons and he's only 6,300. So we're talking 27% usage. He's been a 60% true shooting guy this year, does a little bit of everything, close to a fantasy point per minute. I don't mind the beast too, but power forward, center eligibility. If he didn't have power forward, it'd be really hard to want to get there, but that unlocks a lot. I assume he's going to start alongside Jalen Duren again. I don't find Duren or Wiseman to be all that interesting, although 3,500 for Wiseman at least does get a little bit interesting if something happens to Duren. It's going to get even more complicated when Bagley gets back in like a day or two, so that should be real fun.
He is doubtful today, though, so.
Yeah. Ivy's fine at 5,500, probably a little bit over-owned to me. I think as a whole, Hayes and Ivy are probably like a hair, and Stewart are probably a hair over-owned, but they are still fantastic value options today. I just don't know how much I would want to be getting to like 3 of the Pistons.
Every one of these slates, it feels like we're always talking about how attractive the center position is, and how many, like, you could go top to bottom. Usually you're going to find good value there. You're going to find some of the highest price options. And I'm not saying it's crazy today in the sense that you have a million different centers that you all need to get to, but Wendell Carter Jr. on the other side, he's the second highest owned center right now. You're talking about a guy that, should get his 30 to 32 minutes. He's north of a fantasy point per minute guy. He's 5,800 going up against this Detroit front court. I mean, it does make sense to me why Wendell Carter Jr. would be as appealing, or at least as it appears right now that he is in our ownership projections.
To a degree, I agree, but like,
so what is it that you don't like about him then?
Well, we've definitely missed something in our ownership projections today. If Wendell Carter Jr. is 22% and Walker Kessler is 1 at $100 cheaper, sure, like that doesn't line up to me. That's going to normalize at some point. Kelly Olynyk's at 5,300. He's at 1% if we're talking about guys that have center eligibility. So I think that it just needs to flatten out a bit. We are seeing a lot of people race to the bottom for Jared Vanderbilt, Kevon Looney, Brandon Clark, who we don't know if he is starting or not. So like, I don't have a problem getting to Wendell Carter Jr., but he's priced like he normally is. There's no change to anything here for Orlando. Like, I think he's just a completely normal play to get to, and not like any sort of clear guy that I'm trying to get a bunch of. It's like, who else would be like a good example here? Like, Jared Allen is $800 more expensive, less owned. I think they're kind of comparable plays. When you get these guys that have not created any new value, I have a hard time wanting to just get to a lot of Wendell Carter. That's clearly fair. A good play, but like, when a guy is priced the way that he should be in a role that hasn't changed, it's hard for me to get chalk, like to have him be a chalk play on a 9-gamer.
Yeah, no, that's fair. And look, the ceiling on Wendell Carter, that's the only thing that concerns me, is you just don't get those ceiling games from him often. Like, what's the ceiling you're looking for here? 40 really at this point? Yeah. I still think it's a nice matchup, a nice spot, 7-point favorites against this Detroit team, but yeah, sure. Point taken. Do you feel the same way about anybody else for Orlando right now? Is there anyone that does jump off the page at you?
Yeah, I think Franz Wagner and Markelle Fultz both look a little bit light. Fultz has been fantastic as of late. The minutes are up now. And while he can't shoot, like, he does everything else really well. Fantastic defensively, gets to the rack. The athleticism is there. It's really, you're starting to see what everybody wanted out of Fultz, and Philly in particular, when he first came out. Like, can you imagine if he was still there, how different the outlook of everything for Philly looks? And it's just like, all of a sudden his shot just broke. It completely broke. I mean,
yeah. Oh, you're saying like, if they didn't have to, because he's not moving the needle himself at all. What you're saying is,
I mean, if he just was shooting the way that anybody sort of expected him to shoot coming out of college.
No, well, of course. Listen.
Then he's a real thing if he's still in Philly.
Do you know what the consensus comp was for him coming out of college? Who it was? What?
Harden? Was it Harden?
It was James Harden.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was James Harden. Listen, Fultz is playing fine, but I'm saying, like, if he was in Philly right now, you're not.
Well, this version of Fultz, because he can't shoot, it's a different story.
You're
but
saying like
he's
number one
hitting
overall. Of
he's
course.
Still,
oh my God.
He's doing everything else that he could possibly do. Like, he is not the bust that everybody thought he was going to be 18 months ago.
No, he's a bust. Relatively speaking, he's an underwhelming number one overall pick. Yes, but
for sure, it's been salvaged.
It is
like he's not going anywhere in the league. Like, he's going to be around
100%. 100%. Yeah. He's not Anthony. What was the name? Anthony Bennett.
Anthony Bennett. Yeah.
He's not Anthony Bennett. But that was
go ahead.
I was going to say the Anthony Bennett thing's not even fair because apparently every other team in the league had him outside their top like 15. It was Cleveland. That's Cleveland's fault. He was never expected to be the number one overall pick or even close.
It's so weird to think, like, it's almost like like the baseball draft where you draft a guy at a lower slot to like save money elsewhere. Like they overdrafted him, but like, it's not like baseball where you can just give that money to somebody else at the 18th pick or something. It's they just took the shittier version. There wasn't a lot at the top. I mean, like, in theory, they probably end up with Oladipo and there's not really any difference, but
who went number 2 that year?
I think it was Oladipo to Orlando, but that's just off the top of my head. I don't totally remember.
Huh. Okay. Yeah, it was 2013 second pick.
Okay. Good for me for recalling that. By the way, Franz Wagner and Fultz are both like close to fantasy point per minute guys. Wagner gives you the flexibility. Hasn't been playing well from a fantasy perspective, but does sort of everything else. I like Wagner and Fultz just because they get to face the Pistons, and the Pistons suck.
Yeah, exactly. But they're 7-point dogs to the Magic today. I mean, that tells you all you need to know. Bennett, Oladipo, Otto Porter Jr., my God. Cody Zeller, Alex Len, Nerlens Noel, Ben McLemore, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, Trey Burke, CJ McCollum.
What year was this?
2013. Michael Carter-Williams, Steven Adams, Kelly Olynyk, Shabazz Muhammad, Giannis. And that's like anyone that goes, oh, you could have drafted Giannis, they're lying. He was a massive project, and Milwaukee took
Gobert 27.
Yep, Gobert 27, Schroeder, Larkin, Parasite.
I mean, if you redo this draft, obviously Giannis is the first pick. Gobert's going second, and like CJ McCollum's going third.
Yep. Yeah. But I'm saying when that happened, there was nobody looking at Giannis as a top 5 pick. Nobody. He was like a huge, lanky, completely unpolished player. I
mean, he's playing in like the 3rd league of Greece. I mean, he didn't even look like this now. Now he looks like an action figure.
Yeah, man. Remember Alan Crabb and
Alan Crabb got paid.
He had some ears on him, dude.
That's a brutal draft class with like a top 15 overall ever guy at the top of it.
Yep. I'm trying to see if there was anybody like in the second round, but there wasn't. There's no.
It's Mike Muscala is probably like the best second rounder.
Oh my God. Yeah. Like you might have to take Dennis Schroeder. No, you would take Adams probably 4th in this one.
Probably.
Right? I think you'd probably have to take Steven Adams 4th.
Probably.
Yeah. Ew. All right.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the next. That's a horrible draft. Go back and look at the Evan Turner draft too. That one was fun.
Brutal.
Boston. All right. So this is where you get into territory. They're 8-point favorites against the Pacers, 231.5 total. So it is like a nice little pace-up spot. Not a bad matchup, but everybody's back to being at full strength now. So Derek White's price is up, right? Malcolm Brogdon is 50, almost 6K. Jaylen Brown is back. I love that the guy didn't play for like 5 games leading up to the All-Star break and then put 35 up in the All-Star game.
I mean, it's not like you had to play in the All-Star game. What a farce.
No, I'm saying though, but he's like, I'm good enough to play in the All-Star game.
Yeah, it's just his face, It's not like it was a lower body injury.
But my point
is, he could have played in a wheelchair. It's not like they would have gave a shit.
No, and he probably still would have dropped 15.
Yeah.
Point being though, everyone's healthy for Boston.
I know. And I don't know what they're going to do from a playing time perspective because it runs out real quick. We've had Derek White playing 36 minutes a night for like weeks. And now he's going to play like 24 minutes to start, maybe. It's really bleak. I don't know how you get to anything here, really. Jaylen Brown offers you the most flexibility. You can always take a shot on like Robert Williams at no ownership, but none of it looks good. Nobody came out of my sims all that high, no more than 7%. Jaylen Brown is the highest owned guy on DraftKings at 5%. Like, if you end up with Brown or Tatum, cool. I don't know how you look at Boston and want to get him. They're loaded, dude. This team is so deep. If they're healthy, they're such a problem for everybody moving forward.
Where do you think they sit in terms of odds to win the finals?
They are first, right?
I'm checking now. You would assume they have to be, right? All right. So futures, yeah, Celtics, not only are they first, but they're plus 275. Suns are second at plus 425. Bucks are plus 550.
Yeah. They're just, the depth is just insane.
They're the best team. They
when
really
you've
are.
Got Brogdon and Grant Williams is like the 7th and 8th guys, like you're just, their playoff rotation is absolutely positively stacked, where they're going to go 8 deep and those guys are going to play all 240 minutes. They don't have to bring anybody else on, and they can match up with anybody in any form or fashion. Scoring, defense, length, switchability. They are the total package.
Yeah. And you've seen games where they're down 2-3 key starters and they're still good. On Indiana though, not a ton here either. Like, our highest optimal score is Buddy Hield. He does have a 5%. He does have a 5% leverage score, which isn't, bad, but there's not a whole lot. Matter of fact, Buddy Hield, this is interesting, right? If Jeremy Sohan doesn't play, that means that Buddy Hield right now has our second highest leverage score on the slate, 3% ownership, 8% optimal. That's surprising to me.
Surprising to me too. I don't find Indiana to be all that interesting. I think the best play that you can get to is the guy pulling the most ownership, which is Aaron Nesmith at 6%. But I mean, how exciting is it to roster Aaron Nesmith? Power forward only. The fact that he's 4K is what's appealing to me. I think any interest in Indiana goes away if any other value opens up. But I just think Nesmith is a good point per dollar play. I don't really I'm not trying to get Pacers guys against the Celtics at full strength when they're priced properly.
I wouldn't want to get, I don't think there's really any need to get there at all right now. So essentially this game, I'm not saying you write it. I'm not saying like if you're in Cruncher, you just exit out, right? Or exclude it, but really underwhelming game on both sides.
It really is. It's just like everybody's just sort of priced where they should be. Halliburton is properly priced to slightly expensive. Like, I have interest in Buddy Hield. I got 4%, but there's no stands to take in this game.
We're going to talk about another game coming up, New Orleans and Toronto, where we may have some similar thoughts as we do to this Boston Indy game. Before we do, though, shout out to our sponsor, Prize Picks. Look, when I tell you guys, and Des Moore is showing you some love for the Process Show, yes, Monday through Friday, 6:30 Eastern, he's back, baby. When I tell you that I'm not sure you could go anywhere in the DFS or a betting world and find a deal as good as this, find an offer, a promo, whatever you want to call it, as good as this. I say that with all sincerity, because if you use the link in the description, anyone that hasn't done it yet, I don't know what you've been thinking, in all seriousness, because it's just free money and then it's free subscriptions to make you more money that you wouldn't have had. If you use the link that's in the description, Jordan will throw it. Jordan just threw it in the chat right there. You're getting $100 first match deposit bonus on Prize Picks. So if you deposit 100, you look at your balance, it's going to say 200. If you deposit 50 and you look at your balance, it's going to say 100. Okay. And Josh mentioned last week when we did this show that they still send them emails like reload offers. Hey, get this bonus, 100%, whatever. But that's just one thing. You can find that in certain places. That's not unique to what we do here. The fact that you're getting a free month of Stokastic Plus Platinum, everything on our site, from the lineup generator to the ownership projections to the boom bust tool to the top stacks tool for all those other sports to player projections to not just basketball. This isn't just everything basketball. This is everything. Dude, look at our Stokastic Hall of Fame I recorded it on Monday, Josh, and it was amazing to see this where everyone's sporting the Stokastic avatar, stokastic.com/avatar, by the way. And they're like, hey, I used the tools that I got. I used the tools on the site to play NHL. I didn't know any of the names, literally no names of the players, and won $3K on, $30. There was the one guy with the PGA. I know you saw that. I think it was like 5,000 playing the micro PGA stuff. Goes, I don't know golf. I just used the tools.
It's the easiest thing to do. Like, the tools are fantastic. Other than the NBA, which I just have too big of an ego for, I use it for everything. MMA, which had me in very good shape on Saturday. Unfortunately, not good enough shape. Brutal beat on Saturday. Brutal.
Yeah, we can talk about that later.
Yeah. Golf was in great shape as well. As chilling at the top with Alex on Friday night before cuts came down and missed on the number, which was fun. So another brutal beat from Friday. But by using the tools, it's not even just like our tools for everything else that we have, but I think somebody around these parts does a Prize Picks video every day that's pretty darn good. Oh, yeah, that would be me, which went out earlier today. Go check that bad boy out. 3-2 on the last day. Anytime that you can get 60% winners at Prize Picks, you're going to have a lot of money in your account when you finish it all off. And that's where I've been since I started the video series. So highly recommend you watch that one on the Odd Shopper channel. Highly recommend you use the tools at Stokastic for Prize Picks, because we're just giving you the percentages of how frequently we think we're going to hit a prop. Like, what more could you possibly want there?
There's no juice either. It's just over or under. You're building lineups. If you build a 5-player flex lineup and you hit all 5, you're 10xing. If you do 6, you're 25xing. But honestly, the biggest thing for me, outside of the free sub to all of our sports, all of our tools, everything we have, outside of the deposit bonus up to 100, is the very simple fact that at Prize Picks, if you hit 4 of 5, you 2x still, instead of getting nothing in return. Yeah. If you hit 3 of 5, you still make money back. Amazing way to sustain your bankroll, especially if you're in a non-legal betting state and you want to get some action in on Prize Picks. Yeah, like Josh, exactly, in North Carolina. Like, there's no better way to do it right now. Check it out. Use the link. Get the $100 deposit bonus. Get all of our tools for a full calendar month. Full calendar month. And come hang with us, man. Join our Discord. Get into all that stuff. You learn how to use the tools and win money with them. So check it out. Also, if Prize Picks isn't available to you, or you already signed up and you missed out on this, we now have 50% off every package that we have. So whether it's a week or a month, 50% off. If you still wanted to get in and you were wondering the best way to do so, we got you covered. 50%. Throw that link in too, Jordan. It's in the description, but also in chat. 50% off every tool that we have on the site. 50% off whether you want to do a week, a month, doesn't matter. Check that out. All right. So let's keep it moving here. 3 down, 6 to go. We're talking New Orleans and Toronto, kind of a similar spot here. I mean, the New Orleans Pelicans on the road, 6-point dogs, 226-point total. The only injury news, and I'm not including probables like Larry Nance, is on the other side of this one with OG Anunoby questionable, but he's been out long enough to where it doesn't really impact anything if he remains out.
Oh, he's in.
Oh, is he confirmed? When did we get that? I saw he's questionable like an hour ago.
No, he's in.
Okay. So then he's in. So then there's nobody.
Oh, no, he is questionable. I think it came out. I think the news came out yesterday that he is back. He's coming back for today.
Okay. Yeah, but he's still listed questionable, right? Yeah. Okay.
He is.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like 99% sure that came out yesterday, that he is going to be
expected
playing today.
To play. Gotcha.
Yeah. I was trying to search for that tweet. Yeah, officially listed as questionable, but I think news came out that both him and Trent were going to be back. But anyway, we'll talk about that in a second. For the Pelicans side of this one, I don't know how you go to anything here. Herb Jones is the highest owned Pel on DraftKings at 3%. I got a little bit of Joe Val at 6,100. They're like right away. You can look at Joe Val as like a Wendell Carter Jr. pivot if you want to, but these guys are all sort of just priced for where they've been. Ingram's been back for a bit. These prices have stabilized. It's not a great matchup. 225 total. Only guy I got is Joe Val. The public doesn't seem to be getting here. As always, the same way I said it before. If you want to roster Brandon Ingram or CJ McCollum, these guys have ceilings. They can just go out there and have a big day, score 50 fantasy points, and be relevant. It just doesn't happen all that frequently. So the Pelicans are a team that I'm just not going to have a lot of.
Yeah, it's essentially just one of those spots that's tough to get to given what else we have on the slate. On the Toronto side, Jakob Poeltl's sub 6K. Siakam, you've seen that. The outside of Poeltl, I'm not sure you've got two guys now in Siakam and Van Vliet. And don't get me wrong, Nick Nurse is going to consistently play these guys huge minutes, which is always beneficial. But look at the price points now. You're just speaking for DraftKings specifically here. If you want to touch on FanDuel, go for it. Siakam 10-2, Van Vliet 9-7, Scotty Barnes 8,500. These guys are expensive now.
I don't know what you do here. One, I have no idea who's going to start now. So there's that question with everybody back. Now those guys are all going to get the minutes largely. Like Jakob Poeltl's at 10% ownership. Maybe. I mean, it could be 24 minutes. It could be 30 minutes. I don't really have a great feel for anything. There's no way that you can play 9,700 for Fred Van Vliet. His usage rate with Anunoby back goes back down to around 20%. It's like 25 with him off. Siakam at 10-2, like sure, but they're at full strength now. So you still have to give the minutes to Barnes. Anunoby steps into 34. You still have Trent. Now you have Poeltl. You're integrating Poeltl with Achua and everybody. Chris Boucher, I guess, still plays. I don't know if Malachi Flynn's going to be in the rotation any longer. Like I said, the highest owned guy is Jakob Poeltl at 10%. The next highest guy is 0.6% Siakam. You want to roll the dice on one of these random Raptors? By all means. The more likely scenario for me is that I would have nobody. And the only guy that I actually have any interest in might actually be OG Anunoby. It was a left wrist injury. There's no reason he can't come right back into playing 34 plus minutes like he normally did. You get shooting guard, small forward. I don't know. The more likely scenario is that I just avoid this game altogether.
It makes sense because we're going to get to some other spots that we will not be avoiding. I want to talk Memphis and Philly though, because the Grizzlies here, 3.5-point dogs going into Philadelphia. Should be a fun game, if nothing else. 229 total. Adams remains out. He's been sidelined since January, though. Luke Kennard's out with an illness. Is it outrageous or what to see the stock numbers from Jaren Jackson every night? I mean, like I know I've talked about it a lot, but I only keep talking about it because it's so outrageously good that you're getting days sometimes where with 20 fantasy points just on stocks alone.
He's so good, dude.
He's awesome. And he's playing 30 plus minutes in competitive games. That's the only reason we would never talk about him is because you're like, I don't want to pay this much for 26 minutes.
Yeah. Foul rate is basically neutral now. It's not the same thing that it used to be at this point.
It's not great, but yeah, it's not.
For a big man on cleaning the glass, he's 47th percentile in foul rate. So, really? he's a completely average guy. Yeah, I mean, his first 3 years were 17th, 28th, and 6th. So those were the ones
I don't
that
care
were
if
rough.
I don't care if you're finishing games with 4 or 5 fouls. Just space them out for me a little bit. Don't give me 3. Don't give me 3 in the first half. That's all I care about.
5.9% block rate is 100th percentile. That's as good as it's ever going to get, obviously. 1.7 steal rate, 1.7% steal rate for him as a big is 91st percentile. He is unequivocally the best guy at getting stocks in the league.
Let me ask you a question. I'll just tell you, actually. If you go in the same game parlay today for the Grizzlies and the Sixers, and you want to bet Jaren Jackson blocks, okay? And you want to go, how sometimes it won't be the over or the under, it'll just be like 1+, 2+, 3+.
Yeah.
At 3+, when I looked earlier today, he was minus 140.
Yeah, I got him at 3.2.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Like heavily juiced on over or on 3+ blocks.
Yeah. It's just, he's going to go out there and swat the shit out of everything that comes near him.
Do you have any interest though? To kind of come full circle here. Yeah, that's the problem, right? Because he's not cheap. He's not getting ownership, but as good as he is, it's still like if Jaren Jackson was this price and you're getting 35 minutes a night, I think we'd have a ton of him today, but you're still only probably projecting him for 30, 31 minutes.
So the only guy that is interesting from an ownership perspective are like two people that I don't even know if you want to roster. Brandon Clark's projected for 13% ownership. We don't even know if he's starting. I assume he's not starting in this matchup, at which point he's not going to be 13% owned. Feel free to take him. Like, you're going to get 48 minutes out of him and Tillman in some way. Have either of them. if I'm being perfectly honest. I did get a little bit of Clark at 23 minutes. So it's sort like if Clark's starting, then you're giving him 28 minutes, and I think he looks really good. If he's not starting, it's a real tough sell. The other guy that's getting ownership is Dylan Brooks. And I know Adam's talked about it a lot. He's not the same guy when everybody is here. People think that he's shooting too much. He just doesn't when Morant and Bane and Jackson are all healthy. He's an 18% usage guy. He's at 0.57 fantasy points per minute over the past 30 days. I got him projected in this game at 0.68. You just need somebody out for Brooks, but he's down to 4,200 now. And there's just going to be a game that shows up where like he does make a couple of those first shots and all of a sudden like the blood gets flowing and he just lets it sail. I don't know how you get to Memphis here. Like none of these guys are pulling ownership, and I don't think that anybody should.
So including John Morant, there's a lot of expensive guys. Damian Lillard is immensely popular today. We got him at 35% against the Sacramento Kings. That's not a huge surprise. Highest total on the slate sitting at 241. You have Luka Doncic right now pulling 23%, nearly 12K, but he's going up against, probably the worst defensive team in the league in the Spurs. John Morant is 10-8. He's 3% ownership. Still no interest there, just as a leverage spot. You'd rather look elsewhere?
Yeah, I didn't get any, but, by all means, feel free to take John Morant if you need to. Like, you're never going to feel bad taking a star. Exactly.
Yeah, especially when nobody's playing him today.
Right. I have him with an 8% chance to score 63 fantasy points. Like, once out of every 12 games, he's just going to be a monster no matter what.
Yep. Man, the ownership going to Lillard, $600 more, 35% ownership. You're talking about 32% difference. Like that is significant. It's at least worth mentioning.
Yeah, there are pivots there. Now, I don't disagree with that Lillard ownership at all. We'll get there, but no, if you make a very chalky lineup and you want to swap Lillard out for John Morant, like that's fine.
Right. All right. So let's talk about Philly then on the other side of this one. Embiid, Harden, Maxi's interesting just to see that salary is at a point now where he's actually going to get a little bit of ownership. And kind of has been the case over the last few games. His minutes are the trouble with Maxey is that Doc Rivers is not giving him just like a steady rotation. I know last game looked closer than it was, or I'm sorry. It looked, there was a 28-point game at one point. And then Cleveland started pulling up and keeping things close. Maxey played 28, but if we were to start there and we'll go back to Embiid and we'll go back to Harden, how many minutes do you comfortably project Maxey for right now?
I gave him 30.
Okay.
I don't have a great feel for that.
Me neither.
He looks good at 30, like 5,300 MPE, 12% owned. That's exactly where I have him. I don't have too much to go crazy for. I love the Philly starters today, except for Harden. And I don't mind getting to Harden. I think Embiid might be my favorite play of today. 11-1, just massive usage, playing 36 minutes a night, not questionable for today, which I think is very interesting to see for the first time in a while. Great spot against Memphis. Like they don't really have anybody that deals well with Embiid. He's the guy that I'm getting to the most. I'm actually really interested in DeAnthony Melton as well. And I don't really know how to project him, but I only gave him 26 minutes. He's 3,900 shooting guard small forward. Like he played 34 minutes this past, in their most recent game. There's nothing to stop Melton from being out there for 30 plus in whatever you want to call a revenge narrative here. But even if he is only getting the mid 20s, 3,900 for a guy that hits 5 of those 8 positions, to me, he's getting slept on a little bit as a value option.
That Tobias Harris price point, I mean, talk about a fall from grace here.
4,900, 25% owned. I agree with the ownership. I don't think that's crazy at all. He's like a 0.9 guy still. It's maybe 0.85 if you want to be pessimistic about it, but I think he might be the best point per dollar play on the Sixers today.
The sad thing is he probably is. Yeah. It's just very difficult to have confidence in a guy like this, man. It really is. What's his usage with Embiid and Harden on the floor? It's got to be. It's
like 17%.
I was going to say 16, 17%. It's got to be.
It might even be lower when they're both on.
I mean, he's not a particularly good rebounder at all. He does. counting stats for Tobias Harris are essentially irrelevant at this point.
15.4.
What is it?
15.4 when they're both on.
Yeah, that's brutal.
It's really not great.
It's terrible. So, I mean, at that price point, here's the only thing I'll say. I think it's a pretty reasonable price point too. Like maybe it's slightly underpriced, but it's not like, oh my God, he should be 6,200. Like
no, he should be like 54.
Yeah. I'll tell you this much. I would rather play Maxey at 53 over Tobias Harris at 49. Different position. I would. Here's why. Or go ahead. What were you going to say?
No, I was just going to disagree with you. So go ahead.
Okay. Tyrese Maxey is actually the type of guy that can start taking over a game, even if Joel Embiid and James Harden are out there. That's never going to happen with Tobias Harris. So if I'm in a large field tournament and I go, all right, Maxey is the type of guy that can get scorching hot from three. We've seen it. 2 of his last 4 games, 5 of 8, 4 of 8 from three. He is the type of guy that can go out there and drop 25 plus points, play 33 minutes if he's shooting well. And not to mention with the luxury of coming off of the bench, you're getting additional minutes without some of the big time starters at essentially the same price point. Yeah, I would rather have Tyrese Maxey right now. And his shooting has improved considerably from when he was just in the gutter a couple weeks ago.
I'm just nervous about his role, like coming off the bench. If it's Melton for today, that is like immediately going to impact Maxey, where I don't think anything's really going to be slowing down Harris from a playing time perspective. That's the only part that scares me a little bit.
I get that. The playing time.
Look, they're basically equal to me. So like it's not as if I'm really advocating for one over the other.
I got you. Yeah. For me, really, it's just we've seen it enough times where Maxey can like take over is the wrong choice of words. But we have definitely seen times where even with Embiid out there, Harden defers to Embiid and Tyrese Maxey, like throughout an entire half, Yeah.
It's the whole starting 4 plus Maxey look amazing.
Pretty good.
I will say this, since this is a Prize Picks show, my favorite prop on Prize Picks for today is George Niang under 1.5 threes made.
Okay. That's your number one, huh?
Number one. Look, we got Jalen McDaniels here now. They still got to give PJ Tucker minutes. There's not a lot of minutes for George Niang left at this point in time. I think and then he's got to make the threes. Could he go 2 for 3 in 15 minutes? Yeah, but I'm going to take my chances on Niang just like not having the opportunities. They're deeper than they were 2 weeks ago.
Yes. Look, is this one of those instances where Niang, 8 times a season gets really hot and they leave him out there because he can't miss? Sure. But at the same time, the fact that against Cleveland, PJ Tucker gets hurt and Niang still doesn't come in and see any additional run and still only plays 13 minutes, which was his lowest that he's played in a while. That actually would suggest that would lend it to exactly what you're saying right now. I mean, you have your starting power forward go out. And Niang, who, can play that position, maybe not proficiently, but he plays it, gets no additional burn at all. It was Maxey that closed the game out and played like 20 straight minutes or 17 straight minutes.
Yeah, I think like the path to additional playing time for Niang is now very difficult to get.
So you're going to have a lot of Niang under 1.5 threes on Prize Picks. I really like that.
It was the first prop of the video. Spoiler alert to people who are about to watch.
Over on the Odd Shopper channel. Check it out, baby. I like that a lot. All right. San Antonio and Dallas. And by the way, hit that thumbs. 140 likes. Really not bad. We got 630 people watching here. Do you think it's possible to hit 200 among live concurrent viewers, Josh?
I mean, with this group that we have in chat, I doubt they can do it.
I see what you're doing there. I think they can. I'm going to go pure Neil Orfield here, that we have faith that they know how to find that thumbs up button. Neil never meant to sound patronizing, but it would just come off like such an insult. He's like, I think they can find that button on the screen and click it.
I'm not sure those 630 people can find their actual thumbs.
Prove to Josh that you know where your thumbs are. All right, San Antonio and Dallas. Talk about the Spurs here. massive dogs, massive 14.5-point dogs against the Mavs, 237 total. Devin Vassell remains out following the break. Romeo Langford's still out. Trey Jones is doubtful. Jeremy Sohan is questionable. I mean, just a shit team. And
oh God,
like Keldon Johnson still pulls some ownership every day. The price point is that mid-range spot that can sometimes be a little bit difficult to get to. Zach Collins with Pirtle gone, he's 5,600. Sohan, if he plays, he's relatively popular if he's in today. Tough matchup, huge dogs, but given the absences and the guys who are doubtful, is there still some spots we want to get to just given the lack of depth they have?
Yeah, it's real gross. Like, I like Keldon Johnson more than anybody else here in comparison to everybody else from San Antonio, but that's not like a ringing endorsement. He's just the guy that's going to soak up the most usage. If the game stays competitive, it's probably because Keldon Johnson played well. Whether or not he does is up in the air, but you're going to get 30-ish minutes out of Malachi Branham and Keita Bates-Diop and Zach Collins and Jeremy Sohan, and they're all pulling some ownership. Like Sohan for 52. Sohan's over-owned at 20%, especially with that Q tag today. I don't really totally understand how he's already getting to 20%, but he's a good play. I like any of the generic starters for the Spurs. I don't know how you pick between them. You're just hoping that they don't get bludgeoned. That's what you're doing here. When you're rostering the Spurs starters, you're hoping that today isn't the day that they lose by 26 instead of keep it close.
Yep.
Who knows if that's the case or not today.
And it's not even a pace-up spot. Like, Mavs defensively aren't what they were in previous seasons, but they play at the second slowest pace in all of basketball, ahead of only the Cavs, and that's by a razor-thin margin.
Yeah, God, I'm tired of talking about this team, honestly.
Well, let's stop doing it then.
They're a pile of shit, and they're going to be, every day it's going to get worse and worse.
All right. Yeah, it's not going to get any better. What do you think Keldon Johnson, if you were to trade Keldon Johnson somewhere right now, right? Where would you trade him to? Like a team that could really use his services. I mean, shit, I'd take him over to Tobias Harris in Philly in the blink of an eye.
I don't know. I mean, I don't think he's any good, so that's probably not helping.
You don't think he could help a team that needs like one decent piece to be competitive?
Yeah, I think he'd be like a perfectly reasonable seventh man on a good team.
Oh, wow. You really don't think he's good?
I mean, what has he ever done?
Yeah, and his three-point shooting this year has taken a turn for the worse, 32.8%.
I don't begrudge him that. He's got 27% usage. He's out of his depth because this team sucks so bad. So he's taking a lot of shots that like he will never take in the future if they've got real human
Keldon
beings.
Johnson your number one is not advised.
No, he's miscast by like 4 spots on the Spurs.
Pretty much. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess so. 40% three-point shooter last year, 32.8 this year. That is such a product though of the environment that he's playing. Like he's
he's going to shoot worse when he has to be the focal point of the offense. But like, I don't think he's anything other than a role player moving forward.
Sure.
When all is said and done. Like if they could trade him for something decent, they should.
I agree with that. Yeah, I'm not saying you go and make him a number 2. I meant like, could he be a 4 on a decent team, that has a good bench? I think
could he play like a generic Harrison Barnes type role for a team? Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, on the Dallas side, Luka Doncic, Kyrie Irving, one of these guys just immensely popular today. The other one getting zero love whatsoever.
Yeah, and I completely agree with it. I don't see how you get to Kyrie at 10-3. That is just a massive price tag. I'm getting to a ton of Luka. It scares the hell out of me just because of this matchup. Like San Antonio is not going to slow down Kyrie and Luka. Like real teams aren't going to slow those guys down. They have been, just in the time that they've been together already, an exceptionally elite offense. That's not going to change. And they get Tim Hardaway back for this one as well. So I like getting to Luka. But you need every bit of the playing time today. Now, if Dallas beats the shit out of San Antonio like they should today, it's only coming from 2 spots. It's coming from Kyrie and it's coming from Luka Doncic. 2.5, I guess. Maybe Christian Wood, but they don't seem to like him all that much. So I'm getting to Luka the same way that the public is getting to Luka. I still think he's going to be like a 37% usage guy. The assist rate hasn't gone anywhere. He's rebounding at least a little bit more in the 2 games that he's played with Kyrie. So I don't think we project him all that differently. And in this pace up spot for Dallas, it makes Luka look better, but you're going to need 34 minutes out of Luka Doncic today.
Luka has played 57 minutes alongside Kyrie Irving.
Yes.
You know what his usage is in those minutes?
35 and a half, something like that.
Yeah, it's massive. It's Irving has still been effective though. I mean, like his minutes are huge. The problem is, what are you playing alongside? Like at that price, I'm just going to Ja Morant over Irving.
Yeah, 100%. They're, to me, not close. Like you would go to Ja if you had to.
Yeah. All right, 3 games to go. Where are we at? Did we get to 200 yet? 186. We have 14 to go in the final 3 games. So we're getting there, no doubt. Love it. All right. Let's talk about OKC and Utah. So the Oklahoma City Thunder here, 1 point. How about this, man? How about the turnaround? 1 point road favorites for the Oklahoma City Thunder. Of course, it's not saying much going against this Utah Jazz team. But yeah, Oklahoma City Thunder today, Josh, 1 point favorites, 240 total in this game as well. That makes things pretty interesting. What do you want to do with the Thunder starting at the top with guys like SGA?
Nothing. Not play these guys, unfortunately, other than as, pivots if you need to. I thought that it could look a little bit more interesting just because of what we have on the opposite side. Highest owned guy is Dort, 8%, 4,400. I guess I think he's the best. Look, SGA, Jalen Williams, Dort, and then big man Jalen Williams, they're pivots today. It's just like every other day for Oklahoma City. They just never look like priorities unless somebody is out. And right now they're at full strength. I have precisely 0 shares of the Oklahoma City Thunder right now.
We're not going to feel the same way about Utah, though. I mean,
no.
Yeah. Mike Conley's gone. Colin Sexton is out. Russell Westbrook's on the Clippers. Not that he ever stepped on the court for Utah, but you get where I'm going with this as far as depth at the point guard position, at the guard positions. Jordan Clarkson, he's your one guy, but then Taylor Horton Tucker, shit. I mean, I understandably, listen, he's very high owned, but it's hard not to understand. It's like why he'd be so popular today. You're probably getting 30 plus minutes against the Thunder, and they just don't have, they don't have a ton of ball handling type of players. I mean, yeah, sure. Sure. You have Jordan Clarkson, but look at this team. Aside from that, Josh, there's really no other guys that you don't have like a Jokic or even a Sabonis type center that can kind of dictate the way things go, right? You're talking about Lauri Markkanen and guys like Kelly Olynyk, Walker Kessler. They don't have that guy. This is going to be a lot of ball handling for Clarkson and Horton Tucker today, and it's going to lead to a lot of opportunities to create fantasy. It's that simple.
Whether you think THT is going to start today or not, he's an incredible play. If he's starting, there is no even close option. He's the clear number 1 guy. If he doesn't start, he's probably still the best option for today because they just don't have enough time. They signed Chris Dunn and Frank Jackson. I don't think that's going to matter. In games where Mike Conley and Colin Sexton are off the floor this year for Utah, Taylor Horton Tucker has played the most minutes on the team. He is their next point guard. I assume starting. I gave him 32 minutes. He's the very clear top play today. Don't think it's arguable. I like Jordan Clarkson more than the ownership is showing, and he's 33% owned. This is the guy with a 33% usage rate when those 2 guys aren't on the floor. Even discounting that slightly, he's going to be out there. He's going to take every shot that he can. It's a pace-up spot against OKC. Thunder defense is basically neutral. Clarkson's just going to run this stuff. Even with Markkanen back, Markkanen at 9,400 is kind of tough to get to. He doesn't have peripherals, so it's just sort of scoring and nothing else, but he projects really well here, as does Kelly Olynyk to me. It looks like we reran that ownership. Olynyk is 23% owned now. I'm assuming that Wendell Carter Jr. is not aggressively owned any longer. 15%. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense now.
Yeah, sure.
Walker Kessler at 5,700 is 30% owned. So like I said, he was projecting at 1 before. He's actually 30. I completely agree with that. I have 150% ownership going to the 5 expected Jazz starters. Like, this is the very clear best spot on the slate. I don't know how you get away from someone like THT, and I will aggressively prioritize Jordan Clarkson and Walker Kessler.
You have to.
Yeah.
Plus, like we said too, 240 total in this game. It's not just like you're getting a bunch of inexpensive guys, or on a shorthanded team in a bad spot. It's kind of all the stars aligning in this game. Nobody's wildly overpriced. I mean, the only thing about Clarkson that kind of sucks is, from a peripheral standpoint, you often aren't like, the guy's a gunner. He's not. Can he dish out some assists? Yes. You're hoping for like 5 or 6, maybe. He's a gunner though. That's what he is. You still need Clarkson at 7,500 to shoot well. That's the only caveat to that.
I think you're underselling his assist rate with those guys off the floor.
What is it?
He's like a 28% assist guy.
How many minutes?
Steph Curry. With those two guys off, like 350, 400 minutes.
So it's a decent sample. Yeah, that's not okay. 28%. Listen, if you're hovering around 30, I have no issues with that. But again, that's why I said you're looking for like 6 or 7. I think that's reasonable.
Yeah. Well, the good news is with Clarkson is if the assists aren't there, it's not like the shots aren't either. If he's not getting the assists, it's probably because the shot attempts went up.
Right. Exactly.
Or I'll take that trade-off.
Crashed. But
yeah, that too.
He's going to shoot. Like, you're looking at 20 plus field goal attempts in a game like this would be very much a reasonable outlook for Clarkson. This whole team is great. Last question on this one. How many of these guys are you willing to roster in the same lineup? Because there's a lot of good spots here.
On a day like today, it's 3 across the board for any team that exists. Okay. And look, if Agbaji starts, he's a viable shooting guard, small forward, $3,400 value play, but he sucks from a fantasy perspective.
Oh yeah.
He's a 0.55 guy, 0.44 over the last 30 days. Like, you need him to play 30 something minutes to be any good. So let's just hope that he doesn't start.
And fall in the peripherals, shoot 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say there are a lot of teams today, even despite it being 9 games, with the injury news we have right now, there are a lot of teams that don't have any real appeal. Like,
yes,
there really are. Even if you talk about even if you talk about somewhere there's like one player, right? There might be one player. Like, look at Golden State. We'll talk about the Warriors and the Lakers right now, as a matter of fact, and then we'll get you guys out of here. We got 2 games to go. The Warriors today are 5.5 point dogs, 238.5 point total. No Steph Curry. Andrew Wiggins is out of this one. You've got Kevon Looney pulling 22% right now. Essentially falls off a cliff after that. A little bit going to Dante DiVincenzo, with Wiggins' absence being a factor here. But Jordan Poole's 9,100, Josh. Like, these guys, Klay Thompson's almost $9,000.
It's very hard to want to get to anything at the top end of Golden State. Poole's already priced where he should be. Klay's priced. Remember, we talked about this before. People didn't want to play Jordan Poole when he was like 6,800 after Steph got ruled out. Oh, he's too highly owned. He's 9,100 now.
Yeah. Well, 6,800.
You were the people that didn't want to do that were leaving $4,000 on the table,
which is wild. Yeah.
Yeah. So you look dumb in hindsight for not wanting to have done that. And we were getting those people for sure. I completely agree with the Looney ownership. Today's a great matchup for Looney too. If you're going to have Anthony Davis out there for 36 minutes, this is a day where you get more of Looney, especially when they don't have anything behind him to slow that down, unless you're just going very heavy Draymond, which I just don't see. So I like the idea of getting increased minutes for Looney. Might be a tad over-owned, but certainly a good play. The guy that's getting slept on here, that's pulling no ownership, that I think is actually the second best play for Golden State. It's a complete dice roll, and I don't think it'll look all that great by the time we get to lock, but Anthony Lamb is the flat 3K, power forward eligibility. No Wiggins, obviously no Curry here. Lamb played 25.5 minutes in the game before the All-Star break. 2 or 3 of those minutes were garbage time. But if you think that Anthony Lamb's playing 20 minutes, there's not enough sub 4K value out there that he shouldn't be pulling some ownership. We've talked about way more egregious plays than that. Not a guy that you should just be aggressively jamming in by any means. He's a 0.8 fantasy point per minute guy. But at flat 3K, you need a lot less. And that allows you to get to those Luka, Damian Lillard, Joel Embiid type guys.
Right. Yeah. I mean, you might, yeah, especially if you're looking to get like a multiple high end guys into a lineup. You're
Right.
right. There's not, and that's also again why you mentioned Melton earlier in the show, just trying to find something down there that frees it up. Like, yeah, Horton Tucker's a great play, but he's still almost 5K.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
they're not
different value.
What's that?
It's a different kind of value.
It's a different value. Like it's a great value, but it's not, yeah, it's not 3K.
Like if he starts pulling ownership, then I don't find him interesting because it could just as easily go to Jonathan Kuminga or Ty Jerome or JaMychal Green. But if he's unowned, he's the guy from Golden State that I have some interest in because they like him when he's up.
Do you want to talk about the Lakers then?
I guess. I mean, I find them way too interesting today, which is a real problem.
I mean, Vanderbilt's coming off a 28-minute game. How many minutes do you anticipate him playing in this one, though?
If he's 12% owned, he's the best play on today's slate.
Okay.
I gave him 28 minutes. I gave him 28 minutes. It's essentially what he played on Wednesday, but there was 3.5 minutes of blowout run at the end of this, and he was out there. To me, there's no reason that he's starting again. They've already come out and said that. So I see no reason to suspect that a fantasy point per minute guy isn't going to play at a minimum 28 minutes, and you get the power forward eligibility. He's criminally under-owned for right now. Like, why would you go to Wendell Carter Jr. over Jared Vanderbilt with additional flexibility and a cheaper price tag?
Fair point. Fair point.
And I don't think they're close.
And it's not like Wendell Carter has the upside to play 38 minutes. You know, they're probably going to finish within a few minutes of each other. Vanderbilt, quality rebounder. Yeah. Listen, you're not going to get a lot in the way of producing any scoring.
No.
But yeah.
You don't need to.
Could you grab like ideally the game you'd love from him is like a 10-10 game with a couple assists and a block or two, you know, and a steal. That's your ideal game. And I think it's very much attainable tonight. Yeah.
If you get 30 plus fantasy points out of Jared Vanderbilt today, you are sitting very pretty. And he's not the only guy I like. I'll happily get Malik Beasley, who's, you know, fantastic situation. Now, they're not leaving Anthony Davis or LeBron James, or like they're going to try anything they can to stop those two guys. Malik Beasley is one of the best shooters in the league and gets up more threes than basically anybody on a per minute basis. He can just shoot his way into a great game, particularly at 8% ownership. Fast paced matchup against Golden State. I don't have any interest in getting to LeBron. I don't have a ton of interest in getting to AD, but 3% owned D'Angelo Russell at 6,500. What am I missing here? Like, how is that not more interesting today?
I guess the only question really is like you have LeBron James and Anthony Davis ahead of him, and maybe that just continues to suppress ownership on guys like Russell. And
I guess it makes it interesting to me.
I'm not saying it shouldn't. I'm just saying like 28 minutes in back-to-back games. So the I don't know, dude, that 6,500 with how many minutes are you giving him? Because if I got Russell playing in the same team as LeBron James and Anthony Davis, both of these guys should get full allotment of minutes coming out of, you know, a near week-long break. If you're only getting 28, 29 minutes from him, there's got to be better options at a mid 6K price point.
Maybe I'm a little lofty. I gave him 32. I mean, they've already come out and said he's starting. Like, obviously, he should. He fits the team better than anybody else. He certainly fits the team better than Schroeder. I assume they're going to try to get this starting five as many minutes as they can together because that's their only shot to really do anything. They have no margin for error any longer. I think that shooting just plays. I think he's in a really, really nice spot. I love Russell. I love Vanderbilt. I love Beasley today.
It's just, okay, I know you got to get out of here, so we'll do that. But LeBron and Davis already in the starting lineup. Also, a shooter in Malik Beasley who's never seen a shot he doesn't like in the starting lineup. I don't know. Maybe I could just be off here. Also, let me correct myself here because I'm looking at it. I forgot last game blowout, right? So the final 3.5 minutes of that game went to the back of the bench. So you were looking at probably around 31 from Russell in that spot. Right. That looks a little bit more appealing. My only question is the competition for opportunities in this specific lineup.
Oh, I totally get that. That's what it makes me like one of Russell or B. Like someone's going to get additional looks here today. I don't know if I want to corner the market on two of the other guards that aren't LeBron and AD, But one of those guys is just going to shoot their way into a good game.
Sure. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Russell ends up being like 5,900 if his owner, because you know how these algorithms also pricing algorithms for sure factor in ownership, not just fantasy production.
Yeah, his price is going to come down today. You're paying up to be contrarian.
That's a fair way to look at it. You ready to wrap this one up?
More than a little bit.
We crushed 200 likes. Appreciate you. We're almost at 700 people watching right now. God, that feels good. That feels good. And last thing to throw out there, lineup generator. The screenshots keep coming in on the lineup generator. I don't really need to do anything to tell you guys that getting 50% off for your first week, getting it for like, what is it, less than $4.50, Josh, for the first week, I think it is.
Yeah. That might as well be free. That's a coffee at Starbucks.
If you're playing $2 a day and you wanted to check it out, it's $4.50 for the entire week. And with basketball, you're getting basketball every single day of the week. Check it out, man. It's awesome. You can lock players. You can swap players. You can generate as many lineups as you want. It's optimized for your phone. So if you're on your iPhone or your Android, whatever it is, it's optimized for that. If you're on your computer, you can upload to CSV. You can save as many as you want. It's awesome. It really is. Tournament plays, contrarian. There's not much more to say about it for $4.50 a week.
No, it's set up. I know this is a DFS chat, so you nerds don't get women, but it's sort of like Tinder where you flip through the lineups and like you choose which one you want. I know maybe you look through the pretty pictures of gals, but I know you're not showing up for anything. So this is different. These lineups will show up for you guys.
Dude, I wish I was single for the Tinder, like the whole Tinder boom.
Never had it.
No. We had Plenty of Fish and OkCupid back when I was younger. Remember those?
I mean, I met Katie in 2009. Like it would have been Match.com at best.
Yeah, maybe. Now it's just wild. I mean, your wildest desires can.
I got a buddy that lives up in Hoboken. He's taken the month to go. He came and visit us for a couple days. Went to Charleston for a couple days, renting a house in Miami for like 3 weeks just to hang out. And I know that he's been off to a great start.
I might just start catfishing people.
I've wanted to use it just as I've wanted to have a contest to see how quickly we can get somebody, which I think would be so much fun.
All right, let's do it.
No, I didn't mean against you. I meant like against my wife.
Let's do it. Yeah. All of the Stokastic team sets one up. We see what type of numbers we pull.
Well, Jake won, so I think Jake already won, and he didn't even have to enter.
All right, let's talk about Portland and Sacramento. I know you're up against it here, but
yeah, I got a 30-minute drive shortly.
All right, what we got?
We're good. Whatever. It's fine.
When you say soft out at 11:05, I know what you mean. So
it meant a hard out at 11:05, but it doesn't matter.
My fault.
You're good. I don't care. It's not like I didn't like. I would have DM'd you if it was just like, yeah, we really need to move now. If I'm at the door by 11:15, I'm good.
All things considered, for 9 games, we're doing great.
We are. Yeah, I have no regrets here.
Portland, Damian Lillard. He's at 31%, so that came down a little bit. Jeremy Grant, Matisse Thybulle. I mean, dude, play all the Matisse Thybulle you want. That dude fucking stinks. But he is cheap, and he's going to fall into that same bucket that you were talking about earlier. Cam Reddish, they're just cheap options down there behind Lillard and Jeremy Grant.
I guess we got to start with Lillard, who should be getting a ton of ownership, but maybe is a tad too high. With no Simons out there, with no Nurkic out there, Dame's got a 40% usage this season. I can't go that high. I gave him 38. That's sort of like the upper bound for most guys in the league. He projects incredibly. I got him at like over 1.6 fantasy points per minute. He looks fantastic. It's just a little healthy. Like I like Embiid more than I like Lillard, and I like Luka more than I like Lillard. Incrementally, nothing crazy. And that's where it starts to just get a little dicey. So I'm still getting to Dame, but 30% is a pretty big time number. Happy to get to Jeremy Grant, who's just going to fall into extra touches. I guess like Cam Reddish and Thybulle are probably going to start today, which is disgusting. You got to play both of those dudes as value options. I don't mind getting to Drew Eubanks either at 4,600. If you're looking for a value center at 3% ownership, there are worse options than getting a value center against the Kings. So any one of the starters for Portland, I think, is viable. Dame is obviously the guy you want to get to the most, but pay close attention to the ownership. When he's up over that 30% mark, like, is he going to look better than all these pay-up options? Yeah, absolutely. But there are going to be ways to make a contrarian lineup where you turn Dame into Ja Morant or Shea if you want.
Okay. Danny P, I'm a virgin. It sucks, he says. Hit up Adam, dude. Adam might have some spots to fix that for you. What do you think, Josh? Adam probably knows some good deals.
I mean, look, if you don't want to be a virgin, it's just a money play.
Right. It's a phone call away. It's a short drive away. I'm sure you're right. It's a money play. And hey, depending on how much how seriously you're looking to rid yourselves of the virginity, you don't need a lot of money.
No. This is definitely a discussion of standards.
Absolutely.
Like, what you're looking to enter the quarter arcade of people.
Yeah. Remind me to tell you a story one time about my buddy when we were in AC. I can't tell it on this. You'll love it though. You'll love it.
I have a sneaky suspicion that I have participated in that same story.
All right. Let's wrap this one up with the Sacramento Kings. Yeah. Underwhelming when you got one side that looks so good in Portland, and then on the other side, maybe a little bit of Sabonis, but there's a lot of competition at these high price points for good plays today.
Yeah, these guys are just pivots. I think Sabonis looks fine. Harrison Barnes at 5K is a good point per dollar play. Keegan Murray at 4,700 is a good point per dollar play. There's no ownership coming into Sacramento. So what you're doing with the Kings, because you're going to get to Portland by default. The Kings work as perfect pivots to somebody else that's chalky in your lineup to go along with the Portland side of whatever you already have. So don't be afraid to take anything in that starting five for Sacramento, plus Malik Monk, who's back, although 5,200 for Monk is probably a bit too expensive today. But if you want to get to Murray or Barnes or Sabonis as a pivot to somebody that's highly owned, I think that's a very reasonable path to take because you're definitely going to have Portland pieces.
Well, that'll do it for us. Appreciate you guys. This has been a fun one. Chat was in rare form today. I absolutely love it. Loco, I'll tell Josh the story and then see if it's sometimes I get a little, usually I have no filter, or neither does Josh, on what we say.
Save it for the playoffs.
Yo, dude, good idea. All right, I got some good stories saved up. I've told you a couple that I had before. I had the one wild one. All right. We'll see you guys back.
We can play this game pretty well, and it's not going to go good for you and me.
Follow Josh at Josh Engleman, me at Laffy_D. Appreciate you guys as always. Always a fun show. We got to get Josh out of here. Shout out to Jordan Klein. Remember, links in the description. Free month of Stokastic, $100 deposit bonus, prize picks down there. Lineup generator half off, 50% off every package that we have. All in the description. We'll see you back here tonight for the deeper dive. Peace.